It's 5:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sarah, can you read our mission statement?
Yes, I can. The mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Jeff to approve the agenda. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. That is approved. Next item is a public forum. Anybody from the public want to approach the board? Seeing no one, we'll move on to our presentation from the Pride in the Tiger Foundation. Welcome, Krista.
Oh.
On the side there's that button, just slide that. Okay.
All right. Hi, I'm Krista Biela. I think you all know me. I'm excited to be here tonight. Thank you for having me. Again, our mission is up there, but in short, our whole goal is to provide opportunities for kids through education here in Marshall and obviously beyond high school. Most of you know the history. Started in 1999. First meeting was held in July of 99, and there were obviously some scholarships that had been established prior to that. Currently, our endowed funds are actually over $3 million. It really depends on the market day, but we're getting close to getting back to that 3.6 number, which is exciting to see. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we currently have 13 volunteer board members that support us. Carl Johnson continues to be the president of our board, with Bruce Lamprecht as the vice president. Brent Snodgrass is our past president. Michelle Castor is our treasurer, and Robin Bednarik is our secretary. We have many other board members, as you can see: Tracy, Mara, Jim, Mark, Shay, Matt, and Lauren. All come from different walks of life in terms of their careers, different generations of life. Many of them have either children in our school system or have had children in our school system or will have children in our school systems. But the common thread with all of them is you'll never find a group of people who do not work in education that are so passionate about education here in Marshall. And so I'm super grateful for all of them and the work that they do to ensure that we continue to meet our mission. I also want to thank Sarah and Jeremy. They serve as ex officio members on our board and really help provide us with insight into kind of the priorities and things that are needed in our schools. And so we have a great group of people that are just really hardworking and passionate about what we do. So it's all about the kids. Our two main areas of focus in terms of giving are scholarships and classroom grants. When we look at the dollars here, all the way back to 2016, which is where I have them electronically, I could dig into the paper files to get the other numbers. But you can see kind of that common trend of growth. We saw really big growth in our scholarship dollars this year, which was very exciting. I still get a little bit of goosebumps when I say nearly $243,000 were given to our graduating seniors, which is an amazing number for the community of our size. So I don't like to compare, but I'm going to. So I look at communities. I've got connections in Moorhead, and Watertown was shared with me this year, and the dollars that they give and the size of those communities, we give more than double what those communities give in scholarships. And that isn't about me or the foundation. That's about our community just being so generous. And I think just the hard work of all the people that were prior to me in just really trying to establish this foundation to give back to kids. So I think that's super exciting. You know, we had a blip year, obviously, with COVID in terms of kind of taking a step back, but we've seen continuous growth since then. And so those dollars are amazing, in my opinion. Any questions about any of those? So in terms of raising dollars, especially for those teacher impact grants, we continue to have our gym sponsorships, and we have seen great success that really helps support our operating costs, which we run a very, very lean. I'm very part-time. I think we run, our last audit, I feel like we were below 4% in terms of our operating costs. And, you know, we have just some great community businesses that support us. So as you can see, we are full. We continue to be full. We actually added a spot this last year. Full Smile Dentistry, who is an alumni of Marshall, really wanted a spot. So we covered our logo up a couple places in the gym to give her some space to advertise. So we are full. These businesses are wonderful supporters. And I always try to say, support those that support us. So if you're watching in the community and you see these businesses, please make sure that you support them because they are definitely supporting our schools year after year through their sponsorship. We also have had some great success with our career and technical education partners, and you know, being able to support not only the efforts that are happening out at the CTI Center, but really career and technical education throughout our schools. Recognizing that for students to take classes out at CTI, there's, you know, beginning level classes they need to take either at the middle school or at the high school to kind of get that base knowledge. So when we look at the numbers and what we've been given, and there's one that we recently got that isn't on this list, we received a gift donation from Buffalo Ridge Wind, which is part of Next Era Energy. And so they are also a supporter. So really, we're over $245,000 in gifts to support CTA. That's only donations that have been given through the foundation. There have been some things that have been given directly to the school, and those are not on this list. So, and we're starting to see some repeat gifts. So people who gave last year are reaching out and wanting to give again, which is great. Grants is another area of growth that we've seen. You know, historically, U.S. Bank Foundation has been a wonderful partner with us in giving dollars to support many different initiatives in our schools. We had the large T-Mobile grant that we received a couple years ago. And then Taco Bell Foundation has been the last few years. We are awaiting a final notice on the most recent Taco Bell gift, and we should be hearing that here in the next month. And so we continue to find those opportunities to apply for grants where we can, to just kind of continue to grow those dollars to support, you know, a variety of initiatives within the schools. So classroom impact grants, in terms of us giving into the classrooms, again, it's that one-page application that the teachers complete, two deadlines, October and March. Typically, we see a higher dollar amount, higher amount of applications in the fall. And then in the spring, we see a lot of what I would say like field trips and some of those end of year, I guess, things. You know, we look at a rubric, we look at, you know, how does it meet the educational needs of our students? And we look at, does it have longevity, or is it kind of a one and done use item? We look at how many kids are impacted by it. So there's a bunch of different things we look at. And again, our teacher impact grants are in support of both our public and our private schools here in Marshall. So any of the schools here can apply, or any of the teachers or educators within those schools. We have a wonderful committee from our board that meet, and they really work hard to try to ensure that we fund as much as possible based on where our budget's at for the year. I know there's times we receive applications for maybe 5 sets of something, and we don't feel like we can fund the full dollar amount. We do everything we can to fund at least part of those applications. And so it's a variety of things. I would say this past year, we've seen a lot in terms of supporting the new reading initiatives within the schools. And so kind of up in that upper right picture, those are they're little phonics kits, and so they can build words using that, it's called something, Science of Reading. Am I saying that right?
That's right.
Yep, and it's to support that new curriculum. And so we've seen a lot of that, along with some new, I know, math philosophies and how they're teaching math and providing some of the hands-on materials that are needed for those math classrooms. So lots of different things. Scholarships, our award ceremony was held on May 14th. We gave $243,000 roughly to 134 of the graduates of the class of 2025. We made a few changes this year to a little bit of the logistics behind it, and I think it went really well. There's always that fine balance of recognizing that it's a long night in the gym and we want to get through everyone, but also still take time to honor those individual students and recognize the work that they've put in, the things they've been involved in. And I think our presenters did a fabulous job of making each presentation expeditious, but still very personal. And that's, I think, what makes the night so special, at least to me. I hope for the kids too. So that it's always a fun night. I love it. I love hearing where the kids are going and kind of how they're going to use those dollars to support their future education. But we had some new scholarships this year. The Carr Family Foundation is very generous and continues to be very generous. And James and I talk a few times a year. And this year he wanted to support those that are going to trade schools. And so they added 15 new scholarships this year to support students who are attending trade school, which I think is amazing. Austin Barnes and Isaac Smith are both alumni students who have passed away, and their families wanted to support some memorial scholarships. The Isaac Emmanuel Smith one is really neat. They started giving 2 scholarships, and then when the family heard about it, it turned into 5. So I think that's just, people just really want to support kind of the message behind those scholarships, which is great. We had a new benefactor this year who wants to remain anonymous, but that's to support students who are attending school for business. The American Legion have always given scholarships for as long as I can remember. They weren't large in dollar amount, but they were really in support of students who were good citizens. And with kind of the help of John Drown, who is a Legion member, they kind of pivoted a little bit on their focus and wanted to do scholarships focused on trades as well. And so the American Legion, along with John, gave 4 scholarships this year, which was super generous, and they are building an endowment fund through their membership, which is very exciting. And then the class of 1995, I love when alumni groups get together to support a scholarship. And so they did a little bit of crowdfunding within their class because they're having a reunion this summer, and raised enough for this year's scholarship and almost enough to give it again next year, which is super exciting. I was going to have you click. I have the clicker. So when you look at our scholarship trends, I always like to look at kind of comparing annual to endowed. And, when I took the foundation over back in 2021, endowed certainly was the bigger pot of where those dollars came from. But as you can see, we're shifting into a little bit more of an equal. Some of that is a little bit skewed. The Carr Foundation scholarships really fall under that annual amount, and so their increase this year affected that dollar amount. We also have seen an increase in people who don't want to wait until they're gone to fund a scholarship endowment. They're like, I want to start giving now, but I also want to start building an endowment. And so they're kind of giving, a set dollar amount each year. Some of it's going to fund that scholarship for the year, but then they're also working on building that endowment so that it becomes a long-term gift. So it's just always fun to look at those numbers and where they're coming from. Certainly the markets affect our endowed funds, and we never ever want to, dip into the base of a lot of those accounts. And so we want this to be a long-term thing, forever and ever, to be able to support students' future education. So we really work hard to be what I'll say is conservative in that we want to give as much as possible to the graduating class, but we also want to make sure that we're not dipping into any of those base funds and we're kind of just going off of the gains of those accounts. raising awareness is a really big part of us continuing our mission. And, when I took over, a big thing was just making sure people were aware that the foundation existed. I had lived in Marshall for 30 years. I knew it was here. I had absolutely no idea the impact. I think we've gotten to where now people know a little bit more about us, which is super exciting. And so now we're really trying to get more of our stories out there. And so if you go on our website, you will see the Our Stories page, and I try my best to get stories posted as often as possible. It doesn't happen every month, but maybe every other month. And so if you go out there now, there's a story about our scholarship night. We always post stories about our grants. There's a story out there about being named the Nonprofit of the Year. Along with that, on our website, we are also doing a quarterly newsletter. The first newsletter was in October, and that one we emailed out, but we also printed and sent that to all of our sponsors and major donors so that they could kind of get some insight into what we're doing and provide some of those details. And then since then, it's been emailed out. And so we're trying to kind of grow that email base of alumni, donors, local community members, so they can kind of see and hear a little bit more about what we're doing. So, and continuing to use social media. I didn't have it up there, but LinkedIn is a new one I'm trying to learn. There's a lot that goes on out there, and I'm noticing that's where a lot of alumni connect. And so we just got to try to always get better at that and connecting in particular to not only local people, but our alumni who maybe don't live here anymore. And so sustaining our mission involves a lot of different things, just kind of in summary of what I talked about today. Fundraising is another big one. We have a big event coming up here in July. So we had our scholarship ceremony in May. In July, we have our golf tournament. And that's also when we hold our raffle. If you haven't bought your raffle tickets yet, Sarah and Jeremy have them for sale. Please buy some. All those dollars go to support teacher impact grants. And so the dollars raised at the golf tournament and with the raffle go to support that. We hope to, fill out the tournament this year. We're hoping to get maybe a school team to join us. But we are always looking for new sponsors to help with that. It's always a fun day. We always have great weather. I don't want to jinx it. I'm going to knock on wood on that, but it is a great day. We start at 12:30 shotgun and we're always done by 5. So lots of fun. And then this year we are due to have a Hall of Honor event. Historically, that has been a very, what I would call formal banquet type event. And the last time we held it was 3 years ago in October. And we welcomed 4 individuals into the Hall of Honor. We're pivoting a little. We really want to make it a community event. And I think in the past, from what I understand, community members used to attend the Hall of Honor banquet. We've just found at our last one, the people that attended were closely related to those that were being inducted, which was great. But we really want to make it more about honoring these people within our community. So this year we will be holding it in conjunction with homecoming. And we will be having an event with our inductees prior to the homecoming football game. And then we'll be recognizing them at the football game, which I think is a really fun way to kind of share our excitement with the community about those that we're honoring. So look for that to come. I had mentioned it earlier, but we were the Nonprofit of the Year with the Chamber this past year, which was super exciting and just a testament to the hard work that our board puts in to support our mission. So really, it's the school, the community, businesses, alumni, all coming together to, meet this mission of supporting our kids. And I think I shared it last year, but it's one of my favorite pictures. Dr. Scott Keeker down there, he started a scholarship 2 years ago, and those are the individuals. And he was just so excited, and he told me, I didn't realize how much it would fill me up to give back. And so I love that picture because that is like authentic happiness. And it was really about just how honored he felt to support their future education. And I think that's kind of the foundation behind what we do, is that it isn't just about what we give, but it's, giving that, helping our donors and our, people that support us realize that what they're giving is super meaningful. And we hope that it, fulfills them as well. So any questions?
Thank you, Krista. We just appreciate all that you've done.
Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I do have a compliment.
Okay.
So I was able to speak with some of the donors this year,
Yes.
and the amount of how impressed they are is really cool to see too. I think it's a real testament to this community and the roots that are here. And you have a lot to be proud of because, as you said, this isn't this isn't mimicked everywhere. This
No.
is pretty unique, and people recognize that.
Yes, yes. And I think the thing is it encompasses so many people's passion dating all the way back to when it started and just all the people who've put work into just ensuring that it continues. And I've had an opportunity to visit with this year kind of by chance, some of our longtime donors, and they are so proud. I mean, people are so proud to be a part of what we are here. And they don't live here anymore, none of them. But they are just really proud to be a part of it. And Mrs. Quam was still wearing her tiger necklace at the Tiger State basketball tournament. I, by chance, sat behind her at the girls' state tournament, and I visited with her for a long time. And it was just so cool to hear how proud she is of what we're doing here. So, and it's really them, it's what they're doing. It's not what we're doing, it's what they're doing. So.
Do you get other schools asking you how to start one, or
Yeah,
how do you do it? Or
Yes, I've consulted with Wilmer and Brookings schools in two different areas. Brookings was kind of scholarships and impact grant type stuff. Wilmer's was a little bit different, but they wanted to know how to kind of do the advertising and how do you sell advertising space. And I just said, you're not selling advertising, you're selling your story. And their story was they were trying to pay for student activities fees. And so they were very successful. And they filled up their advertising and supported their activity fees for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are the two schools that I've worked with directly. So
Krista, you're very humble, but you do a great job. And the
you.
Pride and the Tiger is a huge support to our district. So thank you.
Thank you.
You guys really do.
It's fun. I mean, it's fun. Yeah. It's a fun job. So, all right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is the consent agenda.
Second?
A motion by Sarah Brink and a second by Sarah Runcie to approve the consent agenda. I will call for the vote. That is approved. Next item is a treasurer's report. Any comments or?
I would just say we just have 1 month left of the fiscal year to get through. Plus, then we'll move kind of right into our audit prep for the prior year to go through. And there's a lot of movement during that audit with dollars and, crossing the fiscal year line. So I know our last payout that happened here just this past Friday will take place, and that's obviously not accounted for in these numbers yet. So, through May, we are showing that we are at a positive about 2.3 million when comparing revenues to expenditures. But that final payout check for all teachers and staff through the summer, which actually includes about the equivalent of 5 payrolls, is about $9.2 million. So that's a significant impact to what the budget will look like once we get through our audit. So just kind of excited to work through that process this summer and see how things end up here to end the year.
Very good. Thanks, Sarah. Next item is approval of the bills for May.
Motion.
Thanks, Jeff.
Second.
Not many tonight to pick from, so.
There's a motion by Jeff and a second by Sarah Brink to approve the bills for May of 2025. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for the vote. And they are approved. Board reports, any updates from the board?
We did have a community services advisory meeting last week, I think. Well, my weeks are running together after graduation. Got an update on the aquatic center. It's very exciting to see that being built and put in. If anybody drives by down, well, you can't go down 19 now, but the other side, you'll see some really great dirt moving to make sure that that's getting built. And it's clipping along. Their classes this year are really well attended. Everything for the community ed program was positive, so.
Good. Moving on to the superintendent's reports. Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll start with mine. At tonight's meeting, there is a resolution on the agenda to place an operating referendum on the ballot for this fall. We're going to talk about that in a few items. District is facing a financial challenges this year, as we talked about, and the budget is also on the agenda for later today. So the ask with the referendum, what we're looking at is a $2 million operating referendum that will be proposed to maintain current programming, staffing levels, and small class sizes. Without this funding, the significant cuts in operations, curriculum, staffing, and services will be necessary for next year. District is committed, or for the following year, District is committed to keeping the community informed and will launch a website for this purpose. Look for that launch later this week. A successful referendum would ensure continuation of these valued programs, while a failed one would lead to larger class sizes and fewer opportunities for students. So certainly want to raise some awareness with that, and we'll be talking about that a lot in the coming months, but that's kind of what my report looks at this month. Parkside, they talk about incredible student growth this year, especially in foundational reading skills. Kindergarten went from 118 students, either well below or below benchmark, to only 28 at the end of the year. In addition, 46% were well above benchmark at the end of the year. So huge gains at Parkside in that regard. First grade went from 115 students well below or below benchmark to 40 by the end of the year. So big gains there as well. 75% were at or above the benchmark by the end of the year. All students received reading instruction at our intervention at Parkside. So of all the students in intervention, 91% grew one or more benchmarks. There was not one student at Parkside who went backwards a benchmark. So really that's a direct reflection of the team's hard work, the work that's taking place with the science of reading and the READACT training. Those numbers are just amazing. We've never had numbers like that in the spring. So kudos to the Parkside team and everything they're doing. They're really excited about that. In their report, Parkside, they also share this year teachers and students worked really hard and their efforts paid off. Early childhood school improvement plan focused on 3 key areas. First was language and literacy proficiency, where 77% of 4-year-old students demonstrated proficiency across all language and literacy domains. In math, 74% of 4-year-olds reached proficiency across all domains. And in social emotional growth, 78% of students made measurable gains in social emotional development. So you'll hear in all the different site reports this month, they're talking about their SCIP plans, their goals they had set for the year, and really some great achievement results in the year. It's always fun to celebrate that in the year and to see where we're at with those pieces. At Southview, Pete shares that each year since they've been at Southview, we've selected one 4th grade student at the end of the year who has displayed kindness throughout their time at Southview Elementary. This year, the recipient of that award is Elizabetta Rutledge. She is a quiet leader who has shown kindness to her parents and teachers. So congratulations. I think he had a picture of her in his report as well. 2nd grade students this spring, or the end of the school year, were able to go to Lake Chautauqua and End of the Line Museum in Curry. 3rd graders went to Watertown Zoo, and 4th graders planned on going to the Marshall Aquatic Center, but the weather really did not cooperate that last week of school. So they ended the year with their annual carnival, which had many games in and around the building. Outside, it looked like a carnival all around Southview that day. So fun day there. He also shares that PBIS did a great job organizing end of the year celebration again at Southview this year. They had an event outside in the back parking lot. The event had various teacher-student games as well as drawings for t-shirts and prizes. That's a accumulating event with Tiger Token system that rewards students for showing positive behavior throughout the year. They had donations from Sundance Auto Repair, the Shine Center, and Thrivent Financial, and they were able to give away 6 bicycles to students at the end of the year. So you want to see excitement, give a 2nd or 3rd grader a bike, and that is pretty cool. That's a big prize. So that is always one of the best things of the year. Middle school, Peggy says, as we reflect on the 24-25 school year, middle school is proud to highlight several achievements and ongoing initiatives that positively impacted the school and the community. One of the most notable accomplishments in the middle school this year was the reduction in chronic absenteeism. Concluded the year with 95 students classified as chronically absent, which is defined as missing 10% or more of the school year. That represents a substantial improvement from the previous school year when nearly 150 students fell in that category. Additionally, we observed a decrease in level 3 and 4 behavior incidents this year compared to last year, reflecting the positive impact of ongoing efforts to support student behavior and well-being. As you recall, middle school is impacting different BAR strategies, looking at how we use data to drive improvement in those areas, and we're seeing success with all of that. She also shares refining the process, approaching standards-based instruction at middle school. The key resource they're using a book, Standards-Based Learning in Action, moving from theory to practice. And their SLT team, the leadership team and peer coaches are playing a central role in that. So really digging into how that works, what that process looks like at the middle school, how we report grades, how we talk about grades. Been some struggles throughout this year, just and over the last couple of years, and really looking to improve that for next year. So Peggy and Bennett are digging into that, and we're doing a lot of work with that. You'll see a lot about that next year. Peggy shares very proud of the progress that they've made this year and looking forward on building on that momentum for next year with thoughtful planning and continued collaboration, ready to take next steps in supporting student growth and success for 25-26. So watch for more to come on that. At the high school, Brian shares that they met 98.32% of the performance goals. Brian is very detail oriented. Performance targets on the annual skip for the 24-25 school year. That is up slightly from the 5-year average of 98.11%. He shares he's proud of what they accomplished this school year toward the skip goals, and planning is underway for the 25-26 skip goals. He also wants to extend a thank you to board members that were able to attend graduation this spring. Support is greatly appreciated. In special ed, Jackie shares this month about the behavior coach. So our behavior coach supports teachers and paraprofessionals across the district by developing and implementing behavior support plans, providing real-time modeling and consulting on challenging behaviors. So she goes between all of the buildings with our students with the most challenging behaviors and helps support teachers and paras as they work with those students, as they write behavior plans. We also continue to transport students to placements outside of Marshall, like with the ELCs, and the behavior coach will also assist with managing behaviors on those routes. This year, the number of students requiring extra support did increase from 80 to 106, primarily in grades 2 through 8. So certainly a position that we value and help support a number of people in the district. Excuse me. Activities. Mitch shares girls swimming. I'm excited to welcome Ashley Dunn as the new head coach of the girls swim team, following the resignation of Brian Stuckey. Thank Brian for his dedication and leadership over the last 2 years to the program, and certainly welcome Ashley in. State golf. Congratulations to Deacon Wing and Dayton Webskowski for qualifying for the state golf tournament. Both athletes performed very well on a very challenging course. Deacon finished 79th and Dayton placed 35th, so congratulations to both of them. BPA Nationals, congratulations to the BPA computer animation team, which included Matt Bauer, Brennan Tuft, Karsten Springborg, and Joe Noafor on reaching the finals and medaling at the National BPA Conference. In state track and field, he shares high school sent 23 student athletes to compete at the state track and field that was hosted at St. Mike STMA. Several participants have advanced to finals and look forward to sharing results soon. And he says beginning July 1st, the Marshall Public Schools is transitioning to Arbiter registration following that platform's acquisition of the R School earlier this year. The system is set up and progressing, still working through a few final details before we launch that. So I'll be in place for this fall, and there'll be a communication letter that goes out to families as we transition to that new process with that. So look forward to some changes with registration for activities. Beth had a lot to share at the end of the year in her report as well. 8th grade students we had a career fair specifically for them that happened right at the end of the year. That was organized by our community engagement coordinator, Shanda Walker. We welcomed Avera Optical, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and the 4-H Extension Office to the building that day. They facilitated stations for students to explore, and students came down. They had intentional time at each station, a lot of hands-on activities. There's a few pictures of different things they did that day, but it was a nice little career fair for just the 8th grade students, and certainly a different focus than the one we had at the high school earlier this year where they're actually applying for jobs. This was learning more about career fields was the focus with this one. Beth also shares we want to send a big thank you to Avera Marshall and Morningside Heights. They welcomed our second semester CNA students in for clinicals this spring. Each student completed 2 full days or 16 hours total. Avera allowed students to come in and complete clinicals at Morningside Heights and look forward to continue to partner with Avera for years to come. That was a change this year, and it worked really well for our students. We had very positive feedback from Avera on that too, so big thank you to them. And finally, Beth shares we had a very successful year with the building-wide goals as well as district goals, looking at number of students at the grade level benchmark on math and reading NWA and DIBELS in KN1, as well as those that met the growth target as a district. We met our goal at 100% and we're right at the goal for the students at or above grade level for student growth. Truly appreciate the time and dedication each of our staff members put in, and their hard work was paid off by how well the goals were achieved this year. So those targets are set every year in the fall, and teachers did a very nice job meeting those throughout the year. For finance, Sarah met with all building administrators, reviewed budgets, and discussed district-wide projects. So she's met with the department leaders there too, with Tricia and Todd, looking at technology needs for the upcoming year. Really has tried to streamline the technology program area in our accounting system. She also calls out Liana has been instrumental in cleaning up accounting system and ensuring accurate coding for expenses and revenues as we track things, watching that. As we approach the end of this fiscal year, preparing for annual financial audit that will take place in September. Additionally, Sarah shares that she enjoyed participating in various activities with students and staff. We got to serve lunch at the high school at the end of the year, so that was fun. I grilled hamburgers and I burnt my hand, and it was sunny, but it was a lot of fun out there with the kids, just grilling hamburgers, hot dogs, and that. Spent some time with those that day as well, and that was good. Also, we had the celebration of staff excellence. A lot of you were at that as well. I'm serving ice cream and celebrating the year with the staff. So some fun things that happened in the year as well. Final report in operations. Tricia shares high school will introduce a seasoning station for the 25-26 school year, and she's got a picture of that. So a bunch of different seasonings kids can pick from to add on to their food. We're going to start with a pilot at the high school, and if that goes well, we'll expand to the middle school based off of feedback we get from kids as that implements this fall. Additionally, she shares the maintenance team purchased a scissor lift. There's a picture of that. A lot of times we've had to rent one from a local area, and just so we look at how often we're needing one, the number of projects we could use that. We have purchased one. We found a used one we were able to purchase that will meet our needs. And lastly, she shares that we recently completed the gravel parking area at the CTI warehouse. So we've got a number of things that just need a secure place to park, and there wasn't a good spot without adding some extra gravel and stuff in there. So D&G came in and helped us do that, and that is complete and ready to start parking vehicles and trailers on. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Jeremy. Our next item is our action items. The first one is approval of the Hoffman and Bropes fiscal year 25 audit services.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sarah Runcie and a second by Jeff to approve the Hoffman and Bropes fiscal year 25 audit services. Any further discussion?
So you can chime in if you want, but Hoffman and Bropst has been our auditor for a number of years, and we're looking forward to working with them again this fall. This is the engagement letter to have them work on our audit this fall.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote. That is approved. The next item is the approval of the 25-26 preliminary budget, which we discussed in detail at the last meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Sarah.
Second.
Motion by Sarah Brink and a second by Jeff to approve the 25-26 preliminary budget. Any further discussion?
Just share as Matt shared, this was discussed in detail the last board meeting when Sarah went through it in detail. I want to extend a thank you to Sarah and her team for the work putting that together and just digging through the finances. And we've seen this kind of coming down for a couple of years, and we are concerned about some of the financial pieces in place. So the next item on the agenda will be to talk about our plan for that going forward and continue to work through our budget.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'll call for the vote. That is approved. Next item is discussion and approval of the revenue authorization resolution and calling for a special election.
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Jeff and a second by Sarah Runcie to approve this resolution.
So with the budget shortfall that we're projecting for next year and going forward, really no additional funding in sight that we see from federal or state. What we're looking at is an operating referendum. This is a $2 million operating referendum ask. It's very much in line with what we had done in 2022 when we asked for an operating referendum. Board members have been part of this planning and looking at this leading up to this point. Been working with RAP Strategies we talked about a few meetings ago, is helping with some communication and that piece of it, and working with Ellers, our financial consultant, certainly on what this would look like and what the dollar amount we think is appropriate. And if we feel like this is a way we can bridge that gap within our budget and be able to move forward and continue the great things that are happening in Marshall Public Schools. We got so many things in place that just in order to maintain those programs and those results that we're seeing when we look at those skip plans, we need to have the funding in place to cover those programs, those staff to keep all those things in place. So the budget that was just approved does not include obviously any extra revenue or any reductions. So we feel that if we need to move forward with this, and without this, we would be looking at additional reductions next year for going forward.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any further discussion? I will call for the vote. That is approved. Just a reminder, we don't meet the 1st of July, so we only have one meeting in July, and that'll be July 21st. I will adjourn the meeting. Thanks, everybody.